Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me, Anud Zaban, to welcome you to the 4th Annual English Language Conference 2026, jointly organized by the Queen Rania Teacher Academy and Georgia State University. This year's conference theme, Inclusive English Teaching in a Changing World, reflects our shared commitment to creating learning environments where every student feels seen, valued, and empowered to succeed. Over the course of this conference, educators, researchers, and practitioners from around the world are coming together to exchange ideas, share experiences, and explore innovative approaches to English language teaching in today's rapidly evolving educational landscape. At QRTA, the mission has always centered on empowering educators and improving the quality of teaching and learning through professional development, collaboration, and innovation. Together with GSU, this partnership continues to build bridges between global expertise and local educational impact, making this conference an important platform for meaningful dialogue and professional growth. Before we begin, I would like to encourage everyone to actively participate in today's session. As you listen to the presentation, please feel free to prepare your questions and share them in the chat box throughout the session. We will have a question and answer segment at the end, where the speaker will address as many of your questions and comments as possible. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Marcela Danowski, an English educator. Please make sure that your mics are muted, please. Thank you so much. An English educator, teacher trainer, and international conference presenter with over 20 years of experience in the field of education. She specializes in designing thinking-rich learning experiences and inclusive classroom practices, and is currently pursuing a master's degree in neuropedagogy. Her work reflects a strong commitment to creating engaging and supporting learning environments that respond to diverse needs of learners. Today, Marcela will be speaking with us about practical tools for inclusion, supporting neurodivergent learnings. Please join me in giving warm welcome to Marcela. Thank you, Marcela, and you may start.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here with all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I'm located in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So in here, it's almost now approaching noon. So thank you so much for joining us. And today we're going to be addressing quite an important issue: how we can support neurodivergent learners, right? And it's all about sharing practical tools, right? So that we can work on real inclusion in our classroom. So we got plenty of things to talk, to share. So please feel free to just share your ideas through the chat box, okay? And it's super important that you mute yourselves, all right? So that we can just fully listen to one another. Objectives. What are we going to be covering somehow with today's session? I want you to understand, first of all, why it's so important to address neurodiversity inside the classroom. And notice I'm starting with this concept of neurodiversity so that later on I can take you to neurodivergency. We will definitely explore practical strategies. I want you to get out of the session tools that you can easily start applying in your lessons, regardless of the level, the subject you teach, right? The age, doesn't matter. And I do also want you to reflect on what other steps, what further steps you can actually take inside your context, right? Within your context, as to support neurodivergent learners. So as you can see, plenty of things to work on. But I want to start from what you already know. So again, feel free to share your thoughts. What about all of those numbers? What do these numbers represent? Obviously, it has to do with neurodivergency, with neurodivergent students, inclusion. So, what about those numbers? Please share through the chat box. Take a guess. Take a guess. 15, 20%, 1 in 5, 80%, 0. What about those numbers? What is it that they might be representing? Okay, I already see some answers in here. 1 in 5. Well, but what do you think? Oh my gosh. Let's take a guess. What could it be? Think about students, think about teachers, think about your own context, no? How is it that these numbers can represent something, no, that might be responsible for us being here? 1 in 5 are neurodivergent. Could be, could be. Now I'm going to give you the answer. 60% understand the lesson. Okay, that's good. Super positive. Progress. We could be progress. Why not? Yes, could be. Excited. Okay, you're excited. I love that. I love that energy. 0 are concentrating on the lesson. It happens, right? It does happen. I know, I know. But let me tell you, because all of these numbers represent something key for us being here. Yeah. In between 15 to 20% of our population, what population? Those are neurodivergent citizens, according to Harvard Health Publishing. 1 in 5 of our students go through learning and attention differences within our classroom. 70% of the neurodivergent learners experience misunderstanding or, and this concerns us all, lack of appropriate support in schools. We got to do something about this. Look at those numbers. 80%, this is us, teachers. We feel that we're not prepared so as to support neurodivergent learners. And 0, at least this is what happens here in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We get no formal training regarding our teaching training colleges, right? We're starting to get to be teachers and we don't get any sort of support when it comes to training ourselves to confront the situation inside our classrooms. How do we deal with neurodiversity and therefore with neurodivergent students? How is that possible? We just learn what to do through our experience, through sharing, through this amazing moments and spaces in which we build up our knowledge as a community, thanks to these spaces, right? So we got to do something about this, right? But if I don't get to convince you with these numbers, look at these others. 10% of the population is dyslexic. 2 out of 5 children have ADHD. Dyscalculic students, developmental language disorders, well, all of these numbers show us that we are currently living in a neurodivergent world. So we got to seriously address this issue in our classrooms. And by the way, notice that I began my presentation by addressing this idea of we live in a different world, in a neurodiversity. No, we talk about neurodiversity in the sense of we're humans. We're all different. We have different ways in which we process information. We have different likes. We have different strengths. So it's acknowledging that we're all different just because of the future of being human. But today, we're going to narrow that variety within our brain function community into the ones that are neurodivergent students. Meaning to say students who have a formal diagnosis, students who fit into the category of being students with dyslexia, with ADHD, with autism, with any sort of neurological differences, right? And notice that they don't need to be fixed. Careful. We are the ones who need to adapt ourselves, adapt our teaching strategies to support them, to help them discover their strengths, to help them overcome those difficulties, right? So it is really important to notice that difference, right? We are dealing in this session specifically on getting techniques and strategies for neurodivergent students, because I am pretty sure that you as a doctor, are you going to wait for that patient to have a heart attack? No. Obviously, if you notice that there's someone with some difficulties with heart problems, well, you give them medicine, you do something. Well, the same happens with us as educators. Why waiting until you see that your student is failing at school? It's our responsibility to do something about it, right? So, what are we going to do? We got to address neurodiversity, and we have to help and provide support to neurodivergent students, right? Regardless of being neurodivergent, neurodiversity is something that calls us all, that invites us, right? We have to think of the different learning needs, styles, paces, regardless of having a formal diagnosis or not. At least in my country, sometimes they don't even get to that formal diagnosis. So we have to extend them support, flexibility to all learners in our classrooms, right? So that they can feel motivated, engaged, included. So it requires us as educators changing our mindset, by the way. Think of what usually happens. If I ask you, I'm pretty sure that if I happen to ask you right now, what does it come to your mind when we think of neurodivergency? Those students, the problematic one, the one that does not follow my class, the one that is always interrupting, the one that cannot remain seated, who is constantly walking around. Well, so it's difficult, disruptive. Oh, the one that it's not capable. Oh. I need you to change that mindset. I need you to move into a more positive one, right? And I'm pretty sure that this usually happens because we don't know how to address this beautiful challenge that we have, right? It's a unique possibility of providing some support to those students because they all have potential, right? And they just need us to make certain adjustments in our classes, because being different doesn't mean that we are less, right? We are all different. Thinking of neurodiversity, thinking of that big concept, that broad concept of we are all different. And notice that this is not a privilege, it's a right. So if you are not convinced by what I'm telling you, think about the fact that all of these, all of these aspects are addressed by international documents. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, articles like, for example, 28, 29, 30, right? We are addressing this right to an age that respects identity, ability. We also have the Salamanca Statement and Framework for Action. Even the UN with the 17 Sustainable Goals, goal number 4, quality education, right? Even in my country, we do also have in Argentina other regulations, and according to the provinces, the states, we do address discrimination, right? Inclusivity. So think about these. It's not a privilege. We're not doing it just because we're cool teachers. It's because it's a right for them, for every single child to be respected, right? So, the juicy part. What can we do? I'm pretty sure that you are here because you need tools. You need to get ideas, concrete ideas, what you can do inside your classrooms, right? So that's why we are here. So let's start with something very simple, as how we present material, how we present written text, something so simple but still very impactful, right? We have to always provide that written text with plenty of anticipation to our students. I'm pretty sure that this time you already know this, but just in case, we're not going to take anything for granted, right? But then, what else can we do? Apart from anticipating the text, even before you dive into that, I don't know, reading task, for instance, keep on working with the titles. Work with the images. Start making predictions. In that way, you activate the learner's prior knowledge. And this is essential for neurodivergent students. It reduces anxiety. It provides them with a context to support comprehension later on. What about fonts? All of these fonts are neurologically tested, right? All of these fonts are what we call clear letter shapes because they don't have that circular ended shape, right? It's easier to decode for them if you present a text written with any of these fonts, right? And the same happens with the size. Again, this has been tested and it's generally suggested for primary or elementary school. You should use in between 16 to 20, the size. And then for secondary, in between 12 to 14. Now, what happens is that you've got to try it yourselves and you've got to test it with your own student. Yes, try to see what works the best for them. Most of the written material nowadays are presented in Arial and more or less in 14. So that's something that you've got to keep on testing because it might be that your students get the same diagnosis, but still the levels might be different. They might differ. So every single child is different, right? So what else can we do when it comes to written text? Align the text to the left. I know if you're obsessed like me, very structured, and I need to justify everything. No, that does not help at all for the tracking of information to those students. It helps them process information differently if you are aligned the text to the left. Not everything is a block, right? Careful with underlining, because that line can also interfere in between the letter, the shape, and understanding the code and the information. Just simply bold the text that is important, right? The key ideas, key concepts. Space lining, 1.5, because it gives some breath to our eyes in between one word and the other, right? Images. I know we believe, well, if I place image in here, another image in here, they will understand the text. It accompanies the text, but sometimes it's kind of visual contamination. Too much visual information distracts them, overwhelms them. So carefully select the image that might truly help them with no background. It has to be clear in that sense, not excessive colors, right? And if you place images, place them either on the at the beginning or at the bottom and on the right. Yes, text to the left and on the right, images. Okay, the same with the type of paper. My humble recommendation, if you're going to print something and you've got to use the typical white paper, make sure that it's not transparent, especially if you're printing both sides. But if not, there's nowadays a type of recycled paper that's useful as well for these type of students, because that pale or pastel tone helps them as well, especially with the ones with visual difficulties. Okay. Then let me show you this example. This was me. I've got to be completely honest. This is me just getting a reading comprehension ready for my students in year 3 elementary school. I thought that I was helping them. This was many, many years ago. And look at this task. Everything underlined. A super, super long text. Too wordy, unnecessary. So you see, sometimes we just do it unconsciously because we believe that we are helping them and we are not, right? So careful with our choices and the way we present information. Then what else can we do? We have to be careful at the same time in the way we communicate with those students. Active listening, not just simply listening constantly to the ones who are always putting up the hand. Give them space, room to be heard, right? And sometimes those students, neurodivergent students, may not feel reluctant to sharing openly how they're feeling. So body language, no, the expressions, their way of looking at you, that might tells a lot, no? The
No matter
post,
what.
oh, there's something
No matter what.
going on in here.
You got to strut.
Oh. Sorry.
Walk. I'm feeling foul.
There's,
I feel exceptional. It's okay. It's okay.
there was something going on, right?
It's okay. It's okay. You can share again.
Oh, okay, that was weird. All
It's okay.
right.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's all right. Yes, there was something going on. Bueno, so we were saying, think about the active listening. Think about their posture, the eye contact. And you got to, as well, be careful with the way you address them. Clear, direct language. Avoid sarcasm. Avoid idioms, right? Because that can turn into something that might be misinterpreted. So literal language, too complex structures like passive voice, no idioms, no, careful. All right, always choose familiar words for them, synonyms, right? Use onomatopoeias as well, short, positive language, and language that is logically ordered, structure. Help them as well visualize what is expected for them to do. Help them go back to a memory. I remember when we did this in class. That helps them lower down expectations, okay? And positive language, super, super important as well. All right, we were talking about allowing our students to be heard, to have a word. This is perfect. Stations, centers, allow them to work at their own pace. No, they choose what type of activities they want to work on, right? And progressively they keep a record of that. Yes. And in that way, they don't feel frustrated from the very beginning. This is such a difficult activity. No, gradually they will feel that they can achieve it and they go for more and more and more, because you've got to present activities that are gradually challenging. So basically, they will be the ones selecting, and they will all be working on the same content, but just with that sense that I am the one who is choosing. I've got that choice, that autonomy, and it builds some confidence to our students, right? These are all real pictures from centers, corners, and bear in mind that I apply centers with all students from primary level to even tertiary level, okay? And talking about a choice and this idea of giving them voice, tic-tac-toes, activities in which in the center you place the activity that is a must, it's compulsory, and then they got to freely select 3 other choices, activities, and you cut it to all tastes and needs. So that is beautiful. A collage, a video, an interview, etc. Then what else? Think about the senses. These students need to go through language, in case they are learning a language, or knowledge, whatever subject you are teaching, through the body. So visual students. What about thinking routines? I know thinking routines, that's critical. Thinking that's way too much, asking for them. No way. It helps them organize their thinking, to visualize, to make connections, observations, questions. So thinking routines for visual learners does wonders. A tip, top tip, hexagonal thinking. Have you ever tried it? Well, an hexagon could be empty, could already contain certain key concepts. They got to join it and they create their own mind maps that way, and they are moving it. So kinesthetic learners, this is beautiful. And talking about kinesthetic learners, they need to move. So allow them to be the ones deciding on how to display their furniture, their classroom, right? Make use of every single space, not only the classroom, but a corridor, right? And not necessarily everybody sitting in front, of the blackboard. No. Sometimes we need to work collaboratively. We also need some space to work individually, but they got to be the ones deciding on how to make use of their space. So that's why what I do in order to take those decisions with them, I applied design thinking. So if you are interested later on, you drop me a line and I can tell you all about design thinking. What else can we do? Don't forget to break tasks into smaller parts. Give them extra time. It's generally suggested 25% of extra time for any ordinary activity as well as for assessment. Personalized feedback. Don't wait till the end. Okay, this is the result. This is your number. They need constant, ongoing feedback. And if you can build on that feedback together with them, much better. And give them time to respond, give them flexibility. Not everything has to be answered, in a question and typical answer, but maybe they can record it. Maybe instead of writing something, it could be a drawing, it could be creating a meme, it could be recording themselves. Provide them with a variety of ways to respond to a task, right? And sometimes we have to learn to wait, because we just ask students something and we expect them, okay, the answer. They need to decode, process, understand, think of alternatives, and think of how they're going to organize that information. It takes time. Allow them maybe to share with a peer and then to share that. And AI can help us a lot for differentiation. Sometimes we believe that, it's our enemy, but it could be an ally. So there are lots of apps like Twee, like for example, Defeated, Educator, lots of AI resources that you can use in order to economize your time, to create a variety of tasks, right? Later on, if you ask me for the presentation, you have all of these apps linked to this. If you want to record a text into an audio, if you want them to record themselves, for example, TTS Maker is amazing. I truly suggest you. And it is for free. Obviously that there are premium settings, but they are for free. Rubrics. We were talking about feedback. Rubrics. Create the rubrics with them. Look at all of those AI apps that can help you build up a rubric together with them. All right? So, important things. Anticipate, lower down expectations, have a clear schedule of what they are going to have for each day. Allow them to have featured toys, sensory breaks like brain breaks, the mental wealth boxes in which you have a puppet or a toy to hug, a story to help them deal or address some emotional issues, a featured toy, a mandala to color. Well, regularly you can change those activities, but when they notice that they cannot control themselves, they know that they can always resource to that mental wealth box that it's inside your classroom. All right. Brain gym, you Google and you have a variety of different tasks that will not take you longer than 5 minutes. And this is great when they're just getting started, getting from a break, when you need that transition from one cognitive task into a different one, and you need them to be ready to confront that new challenge. Brain gym, you see something as simple as that. Reading the color, not the word, what it's written. So you see that it exercises our brain. Positive reinforcement. Careful with the type of words or reinforcements that we have in our lessons. Sometimes we give certificates for the one who reads beautifully. That is not inclusive reinforcement, let's say. No, what happens with the dyslexic students? They will never get a certificate. So rethink on the way you are reinforcing certain attitudes or behaviors or expectations in your classroom. Allow them to have a moment of relaxation. If they are completing a task, play, for instance, binaural beats. Google it. It's beautiful. Again, to deal with stress levels, to reduce anxiety, to focus. Binaural beats, right? Work with stories, with social stories. There are lots of stories and books that you can apply. Play, have fun. I mean, who says that having fun and engaging our students into games is just simply for primary or elementary education? I play with my students at the tertiary level, at university level, right? The other day in linguistics, for instance, we were playing with the twister. How is that possible? Yeah, engage them into games, into participating in debates, get them outside your classrooms. And in the same way, we have to rethink assessment, my loves. I'm afraid that traditional formal assessment just focuses on the final product. But we know that assessment is a process. So we are not going to judge them. We are not going to label the students. We need to focus on the process with, for example, e-portfolios. We can use exit tickets. These are all real e-portfolios that we start applying even from kindergarten. Yes, they can create their own portfolios. Think about design thinking as a way of showing what they've learned, and put that into practice, into something tangible to come up with solutions to the real world. Think about escape rooms. All of these are simple things that they can easily apply and do in their classes, right? And you just guide them. And metacognition, make sure that at the end of your classes, at the end of an activity, at the end of the week, of a unit, a project, you help them reflect on what they have learned, on the challenges, on what they still don't understand. Help them set new goals, and do not forget to include feelings. This could be an amazing opportunity for those students who do not share openly how they're doing. No, we're talking about active listening. This is also active listening. So, in order to ramp up, we have to embrace flexibility, creativity, focus on the process, not the results, allow them with voice and choice. I know it's a huge responsibility for us. That shouldn't be mainly our responsibility. It should start from the teaching training programs. I know, from having a flexible curriculum. But well, we can make the difference. So let's get started within our classes by making just tiny adjustments. Don't expect to apply from one day to the other all of these things. You've got to try, experiment progressively and see what works for your students. And remember that inclusive education should never threaten you, discourage you, or trigger you. On the contrary, you've got to feel inspired and engaged, and it has to enrich you, because in the same way that you're helping them, they're also helping you. You're getting a new perspective of life. Okay, you are also learning in here. If you want to get this presentation, if you want to get more information, or just simply having this conversation going, feel free to drop me a line, to contact me through the social media, to send me an email. I mean, I will be more than thrilled to help you, because this is, again, all about building a community and learning from one another. So thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. And I believe that now we might have some room for questions. I couldn't follow the chat. It was happening all
It's okay. It's okay. We will open the door for the questions. Thank you, Marcela. Thank you so much for your insightful and engaging session. You're emphasized on how inclusive education thrives when teachers provide flexible, personalized learning experiences that support every learner's needs, has given us much to reflect on as we continue working toward more inclusive and effective English language teaching practices. Now we will move to the question and answer session. I would like to invite participants to continue posting their questions and comments in the chat box, as we will address as many of them as time flows. I would like also to thank our audience for your active participation and thoughtful engagement throughout the session. We hope today's discussion inspires new ideas, meaningful conversations, and continued collaboration among educators and professionals in our field. On behalf of Queen Rania Teacher Academy and Georgia State University, thank you for being part of the 4th Annual English Language Conference 2026. We look forward to seeing you in the next sessions, and we wish you a productive and inspiring conference experiences. Thank you so much, and we will see if we have any questions. What is the most sustainable way to deal with students who interrupts and annoying in classes?
Oh, that's interesting, because we've got to start by thinking of the reason why they are interrupting. Is it because they don't feel part of the lesson, because we're dealing with something that is not interesting or appealing? no, for themselves. We got to first to start reflecting on what is happening with that kid. What's the reason? So, have you tried probably adapting the class into a topic that is something that he's interested in? For example, here in Argentina, all of the children are obsessed with the football stickers, no, the World Cup. So, okay, I know that he's constantly playing that and he's annoying my class with all of those stickers all around falling from the desk. Do something regarding football. I don't know. Try working with the flags, identifying the t-shirts. So, okay. So my teacher is paying attention to what I like. It's just making those tiny adjustments of making them feel heard, seen, cared for. And you'll see that they will start changing their attitude. Maybe reinforcing positive attitudes, because sometimes it happens that we focus way too much on what they are not doing. They are not sitting down, paying attention. So whenever they are, I don't know, just simply writing on just the fact of, they grabbed a pen. How fantastic! Look, Peter is ready for the class. He has his materials ready. And they will look at you like, okay, what is she saying? What is happening here? You get them no shocked, surprised. And by doing those tiny things, you're changing your focus and you are also changing their perspective. Okay, she is no congratulating me on just simply getting a pen. Okay, what would happen if I copy this time instead of walking around? It's like they will be challenged in a positive way. Okay, so it's changing our mindset somehow. We are focused way too much on the negative aspects.
Thank you, Marcela. Thank you so much for this insightful session. We hope to see you in the other sessions. Great to meet you, and thank you so much.
A pleasure. Thank you all. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello.
Bye, Hadir Habibti. Thank you for your support.